Okay, we're back on. It's 1:20.
One for John. We didn't have enough trees in the rainforest
Marked up the table of contents based upon what we discussed this morning. I'm not saying it's definitive, so please check it. That's what our notes indicate. All right, if you go to page 4 and 5, Article 3, I'm going to go through the ones that are open to explain what our position is on that. Some of those are two-sided, some are not. All right, so on this is the Just Cause Discipline, Article 3. You turn to page 554. In paragraph F, we had talked about, you want to do this letter of protest or whatever. From our point of view, whatever you want to submit, whatever you want to title it, and that's why I put the clause, no specific form is required. You meaning the union and the employer are free to submit any document in any format with any title that's responsive to or disagrees with a written reprimand or a warning letter. And that, of course, does go to the file. Drug-free workplace. I agree with you, the current contract does say random testing, but it never delineated what group of employees could be randomly tested, and we know that the statute says we can't test everybody. We can only test employees in a mandatory test position. So at a minimum, we would like to have that clause in A. And E is just a cut and paste from the statute, but it's not that important to us. If you don't want to have the cut and paste from the statute, we're okay with that. We just want to make it clear that we have limited rights to mandatory test.
I thought you withdrew your proposal on that. Did I misunderstand?
No. There was other language on, we withdrew all of the language that talked about the procedure, because you said, you can random test people now, it's in the contract, and we agree we can. So I didn't want to get hung up on all the procedure for doing it. Just want to make it clear that not all employees in the bargaining unit can be random tested. Not our intent. We can't do it legally. So your choice, we want to have A, we could live with or without E.
I kind of was just leave it as it is, but we'll look at it.
Okay. You're going to be looking at, I'm sorry, I'm on page 8, Article 7, collateral documents. You're still looking at this issue about the changes to the career service rules, as I understand it. Career service manual.
I got a question. What provisions in the career service manual are considered monetary? Just got a question on that.
Without going through them one by one, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
I thought the idea was anything that's pertaining to kind of like wages and stuff like that. I don't know if anything that's pertains to wages anyway. So I was just wondering what the distinction is. This is the non-monetary provisions.
I think all the monetary provisions are addressed in the collective bargaining agreement. I think that was our original goal, and I think we achieved that. So,
It's just, yeah, okay. You know, it's, in the event there's a debate over whether something's monetary versus non-monetary, but I guess we'll just, we've lived with it for a couple of years now, so.
10, we would maintain the status quo. Are still interested in collecting the annual fee. Article 11, bargaining unit work. We still like the flexibility of the language in D. I don't think it's been an operational issue that's deprived a bargaining unit member of any work. So I'm not exactly sure what the issue is other than the philosophical approach to it. So we're holding to our status quo language on that. Takes us to 16. I'm sorry, did I miss one?
13, for bulletin boards, I guess.
Oh, bulletin boards, I added the clause at the 16 at the bottom. I thought with that was TA. 16, our position is the same, is that when an employee shifts from being an employee to putting on the union steward's hat, they're on union time, they're not on county time. So it's not compensable, except in the circumstances we've described here, which, it's unpaid leave, essentially for us. You couple that with the next article, which is the union leave account.
What about your proposal on
I'm sorry, on what?
16D?
Yeah, we would, an employee that's drawn into some kind of dispute because their attendance is required, should be paid. It's that's kind of out of their control. They're not acting in a steward capacity. They're acting as a witness or supporting witness or something of that nature. So they're kind of an involuntary participant in it, and they would be paid to be there.
But if the union is requesting the attendance of the employee, and that employee could be a steward, you can't be a steward without being an employee, and it's requested by the union, and I give advance notice, you're gonna cooperate anyway.
Well, I've added the language that says we're gonna try to work it out so that when you call up and you say, I wanna have a meeting and we want A, B, and C there, we'll try to work that out with you. But if we think that A and B are sufficient and we don't need C, that it's a waste to have C there, the less employees attending a meeting and not doing their regular
And
job.
like we explained earlier, I mean, D, your proposed D gives us the ability to have more people there than just having A, our proposed A, with having a steward there. So you're actually affording us the opportunity for me to say, I want to have 3 people there.
Right?
When, if we had a steward there, and the steward can answer most of the questions himself, then it would have less of an impact than asking 3 people.
It could. But
And I just don't,
it's a departure from our approach, which is when the employee ceases to be an employee and is acting as a union steward.
I understand,
or
it's
for the
a
union.
philosophical thing too, with you, I guess.
No, it's not. with
Well, then
me,
why
it's
is it
with-
that at every other single labor agreement we have, every single last one of them, the union steward does not suffer a loss of pay for attending a meeting? Why is this the only group? Why are the only person that I've ever negotiated with, to be quite frank about it, is the only person that has a problem with it? You.
No, I think the difference is this county is more attentive to what employees should be doing during their paid work days. They were hired to do a specific job,
Right.
whatever their hours of work are. If they decide that they want to take 3 hours off, or 2 hours off, or 5 hours off to engage in union business, they have elected themselves. We're not forcing them to be union stewards. And you're
I'm
not either.
we're
Dave
not
said it's
proposing-
worth
We're not
it.
proposing that an employee comes to work and says to the supervisor, hey, I'm going around union time, or really, what's that for? Well, I have a grievance hearing tomorrow, I have 5 hours of work to do to prepare for this hearing. That's not what we're proposing. In fact, it's exempt under B. We're not proposing anything other than what's the norm. The norm is the contract has been violated, or at least there's been a pretty strong allegation of a violation. The steward didn't cause that, okay? We have a written agreement we all signed off on, and in the event that it is a contract violation and there's a grievance hearing, why should that union steward suffer a loss of pay for attending a meeting to resolve what would be a violation of an agreement that we've signed to?
Because they're not
It's
doing their
not-
county work.
But why is it that every other single employer, including counties that are next to you, and every other private employer we deal with, we have 35 different employers we deal with in Local 79, and none of those employers have this issue. Why is that? What makes Pasco County so unique and so special that they can't simply do what every other employer that we do business with? Is it a concern of abuse? Do you think we're going to abuse the language? I mean, how many meetings do we have now? And you know, in terms of the grievance procedure, the grievant is allowed to attend the hearing without loss of pay. So if someone filed a grievance, they're allowed to come to the hearing. What's the distinction between that person and the union steward?
Because D presses the requirement for cooperation to decide who actually needs to be at the meeting. And when we agree upon that, we would agree that the employee, not the steward, would be compensated to be there if they're on
The
duty.
employee is already compensated. Look under the grievance procedure. The person who files a grievance is allowed to attend the hearing, the grievance hearing, without loss of pay. And so it's no secret that most of the time, the grievant is the steward anyway. Well, I just.
So if you think it's repetitive, I'll tell you what, we'll withdraw D, but it's not going to change our position with respect to the rest of the article.
I have less of a problem with D, and more of a problem with the fact that you just want a steward to be on his own dime.
I don't. Actually, I want the balance of the bargaining unit to belly up and recognize that somebody is representing their interest and to donate time. That's why we put 17 back in.
That's because that's what you feel is important to you,
I think that's what's fair.
according to you.
Of course, according to me.
Well, we disagree with your brand of fairness.
So 17, we had it stricken, we put it back in to deal with the issue of allowing other employees to donate time to make sure their stewards are compensated. Your call on this one, you want it in or out?
We'll make that call.
You gonna make it now?
No, I'm not gonna make it now, because if you rejected our proposal on 16, it's still open. And since it's still open, so 17 is still open.
All right. Probationary employees. The change in the language that from the previous version is in C. Our proposal was to go from 60 to 90 days.
What
The
was
whole
the-
provision was new.
What was the reason from going from 60 to 90?
Just to afford somebody that's on the cusp of passing probation to have more time to do it with instruction from supervisors and the department.
Yeah, but that doesn't explain the difference between 60 and 90. I mean, if you say they're on a cusp of 90, if it's 120, they're on a cusp of 120. What better value does 90 have? You know, and our concern is that the longer you drag somebody out on probation,
The longer they're employed.
you know, longer they're hanging by a thread, you know, and they don't know whether or not they have a job or whether they should be looking for another one. It's just the way, it's a pretty weird. And you already got 6 months, you've already been looking at them for 180 days. 6 months. I mean, I've heard the story over and over and over again, most employees can be figured out within the first week, whether or not they're gonna cut it or not. And so 6 months is like an amazingly long time as it is. How could you want another 9 months? It really takes 9 months to evaluate an employee to tell whether or not they're gonna.
So you're agreeable to it for 60 days, but not 90 days?
No, I'm asking what the decision was based on from your previous proposal of 60. I didn't necessarily agree or disagree. I was just curious as to why you went from 60 to 90 and what justified that, so I can understand the proposal.
More time a marginal employee has to understand how the county wants the employee to conduct business. We're willing to work in favor of the employee, keep them employed.
How long does it really, do you really think it takes 9 months to figure out if an employee is gonna work out?
There's plenty of places that
This
have
would
a
be
year.
one example would be public safety communications, because it does take some time to develop, and towards the end of that development period, you still fight, you try to give somebody a chance, and it's a unique enough job where they just don't fit in it, and you have to make a decision. But sometimes a little extension helps, sometimes it doesn't.
I mean, just because someone passes their probation period doesn't make them immune from being terminated. I mean, if they're failing that.
It doesn't, but, you know, you want to make the right choice with something as critical as in particular that job, as an example. You want to make sure you're making the right choice for an employee who could be here for some time and be in a critical role. So that's just you know, and sometimes, you know, I can't think of an example where they might have had a stall in training, but you want to make sure that you give them every opportunity to succeed.
I mean, this is the way I think would be fair. In the 6-month probation period, about halfway through, 3 months into it, you sit the employee down and tell them one way or another, hey, just so you know, you're doing a great job, keep up the good work, give them some reinforcing feedback, or you're taking the office in 3 months and say, listen, if you continue on the path you're on, you know, we're not gonna be able to put you on full-time again in your probation period, because
Yeah, they do get continuous feedback. It's not always that black and white, though, at the 3-month period where you can say.
Well, I'm just giving an example. So then at the end of the 6-month, 180-day period, which is a heck of a long time, you know, that employee, you know, if you said, listen, you're just you're this close to making it, we need a little extra time, you know, and we get into a probationary period extension because of a very legitimate reason, and it just seems peculiar why even after 6 months, you can't figure out whether the employee's gonna work out or not. But you know, suppose they go beyond the 6 months, they're on full-time, and you're still having problems, you know, and then you start, I guess, the path of discipline if they're failing so miserably on a performance. You know, maybe you say, you know, you really should consider about looking for another place in the county to go to, because this isn't working out for you, and if you don't decide to take me up on that offer suggestion, you might find yourself unemployed. To go 9 months and then another 3 months where the person's hanging by a string that you can snip at any day because they're an at-will employee, it's just an excessively long period of time. And I'm just telling you where I'm coming from, and if it's just really narrowed down to one unique job classification that you need to have more time to evaluate somebody, I get that and understand that. But we're talking about, you know, a lot of different jobs within the county.
Well, we thought that C, the way it was worded, was potentially unfair to an individual who was very close to being able to conform their work effort to what the county expected. We thought the new language to C was really a pro-employee proposal. I'm not clear on how that is adverse to the interests of the union.
Because on the, I guess, so it's 180 plus 90, 270 days, on 269 days that the person's been working here for 9 months, doing the best they can. You want to tell them that their employment is now terminated, I can't do anything to help that employee. That's why he's adverse to the employee, because I can't do anything under the just cause provision of the contract to help that probationary employee, because honestly, if their breath smells bad on that last day, you can tell them to go home and they're at will. So that's the reason why. But we'll look at the proposal and consider it.
Contract negotiations, I didn't show that as TA, but the change there was to delete the requirement that the request be made to the HR department.
Yeah, it's not TA, our proposal is that it's with pay.
Okay. 21, we're okay with the status quo. And it didn't indicate that it was TA. And this good ties into your seniority proposal, which we rejected.
Okay, let's see what this is doing. So you guys don't have anything to respond to with our seniority, working on us on that one particular issue?
We do not.
Okay.
Safety committee, I worked with the language there. There are, as I indicated just before lunch, that there is no countywide safety committee, so the language would be that if there's a departmental safety committee created, the county will allow the union to have representatives, at least one for every management representative. Maybe occasions where maybe more, but at least one.
Let's go to 20.
I'm not sure what his TA is.
We had a proposal on health insurance applying to retirees. Remember that?
Maybe that was the 30 to 25 year.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did reject that. I'm shocked.
Okay, everyone's still.
Medical leave.
On page 23 of 54, under AA, 23 is just a grammar change or something, right?
23. Yeah, I think we talked about that was just a grammar change.
Okay.
Kind of a floating clause in all that sentence before.
So what's the next one?
26, medical leave.
All right, so you have any consideration for our proposal on JJ?
We did, and we think there's we think that's a significant increase in a monetary related benefit over time. So we rejected that proposal. Keep the status quo. Takes us to 35. It's open as the addition, our proposal for the addition of the planned annual leave.
That's rejected. Yeah. That's two sides, one, correct? Yeah. Is it a,
39, that's open. I don't think we're very close on that one.
that's rejected.
40. Show it open, I'm not clear what your issue is on this one.
Well, I mean, the question was how it ties into seniority proposal. I don't think it interferes with it, but I just want to keep showing it.
Okay. Standby. We're going to look at this language in A.
Okay, yeah, A is okay, but we're still open on, I think it was B. What was the other proposal on standby? I'm sorry. Hang on one minute. It wasn't standby, it was call out. Yeah, hold on, call out B. I don't see a problem with, A, standby.
Okay, so add that to the team list. Call out pay. What's the date of that proposal?
But today I gave you a proposal on call-out pay for section B. It's just that it's at the discretion of the employee at the end of B, whether they want to receive have the hours replaced or receive it.
Yeah, I got that one.
Yeah, I think my comment here was, let's look at that one in the context of the holiday chart, which we're gonna get to in a minute, so I'll just keep that open. Shift differential, I modified the language here. I think should cover the situation that, just delete the reference to assigned or regularly worked. if they work the shift, they'll get the shift differential.
That works for us.
And I did that in A and B.
It adds up to the same stuff. About TA that.
Okay. .46. Hold this till we get to the wage, and then we'll come right back to 46 on the evaluation. .47, we reject your proposal to delete the exemption of the public transportation employees. It's just a completely different animal to try to deal with in terms of lunch breaks.
I don't think they deserve a lunch.
They do, but I've talked to them, I think they're working on some, trying to find some resolution. I had a discussion last time we talked about this, I went straight to the judge and asked them to try to speak with their employees, looking for some reasonable solutions to this problem, just, and I don't know where they are. Have you-
We haven't discussed anything, they're still kicking it around. They said they will let me know and we can talk it over, see what we can do.
All right, well, until something's worked out,
Yeah,
I guess we'll
it's
just.
got to stay open. I mean, we could leave it the way it is, but,
Well, we
or
don't
we
wanna-
leave it an open.
we don't wanna do-
It's enough.
I'll try and set up a meeting with them and see if we found any common ground someplace.
All right, so that takes us to reduction in workforce. We haven't talked about that very much, other than the fact that you don't like the formula.
Well, no, what I mentioned was our seniority vice proposal covers layoff and recall. So, when that's accepted, and this would be,
Yeah, but that's a pure seniority trumps all issue for us, under your proposal. Okay, that's
about a
all.
big job, yeah.
Okay, so that takes us to holidays. So here's where we are with holiday. We plugged in after going back over our notes from our discussion with you. We modified a little bit. We have a number 6 at the bottom, which is one of the options. It's the holiday pay and the hours count as eligible for overtime. And then what we believe the appropriate benefit would be. And I think if you go back to your call-out pay, think about where this would fit in our A through H.
On my notes, I have 2 in section A. Mine says 2 and 5. This says 2, 4, 5, but then I have 2 and 5 under G. Is there a distinction between and or?
Yes.
So G, employee.
Anywhere you would use the and would double up the benefit.
But on G, that's okay.
Yeah. Because that's the designated dollar.
Work pay time, under G, employee is not scheduled to work a designated holiday, but is called into work. So that employee will receive time and a half hours worked, which is 2. And can choose another day off within
Yeah.
6 months and be paid as though the employee worked.
Right.
What if they just want to? All right, so A, designated holiday falls on the employee. G, employees usually works, on the day the employee usually works. Employee plus single. The designated holiday falls on a day the employee usually works and the employee is required to work the designated holiday. See report five, so the paid time and 1/2 for hours worked. Or the employee can choose another day off, and that falls. Right? Okay, so, what did you change again? I guess number 3 you changed, or no, number 5. What did you added a 6?
I added 6.
Yeah.
8 hours, 10 if employee works 10-hour schedule. Straight time pay, but hours count as hours worked for.
You had included that as a modified 3 in the last discussion. So it's like 3, but now it's 3.
And I thought we were going to strike the word up on the top, under subsection B, holiday associated benefits, we're just gonna say holiday benefits. I have my notes.
You're right. Strike that word.
My notes, I have under section B, that the modified 3, which would be the equivalent of 6, would apply for work leave status B. Work leave status B says a designated holiday falls on a day the employee usually works, but the employee is not required to work the designated holiday. In that particular case, employee gets straight time, but hours don't count as hours worked for overtime.
Right.
How could any hours worked not count toward overtime?
They're not worked. It's not sweat time, it'd be no sweat times involved.
Yeah, we already have a provision. The holidays counts as hours worked. So it's conflict in what we already
Oh,
received.
this is more specific.
I took the 3rd of July. The bus operator usually works on Fridays, but he's told he's not working this Friday because he's being recognized for the 4th of July. And your proposal says you don't get, that doesn't count as hours worked. We already have that count as hours worked. So it should be 6.
Your counter on D is 6.
It's not a counter, it's what we talked about last time. I guess it is a counter, but I
Yeah.
think it's probably an error. On my notes, we called that 3 modified last time. 3 modified means you use 6. B and D was supposed to both be 6 or 3 modified.
Yeah, I guess it
Yeah. You got in there 6.
Yeah.
is.
That's what I got too. B was
So we're-
modified
we're
from 3 to
saying
6.
B should be holiday benefits 6. Because what it's saying is a holiday, you're not working, there's hours accounted, your holidays are counted as hours worked. That's already our, what we currently enjoy now. On the leave time excluded, which I think is 35 contract. I'll look those real quick.
35.
Holiday leave. Holiday leave is, am I correct? Or-
Well, I'm hearing it as, I'm treating it as an account, so we'll take it under consideration. See what the rest of this all sound.
All right, but I'd just like to remind you, on 8/11, we all at this table decided that's what we, that's fine, if you want to consider that a comment. So, I mean, it's already in Article 35. For us to agree to what you proposed would be in conflict with Article 35.
I made that note.
So, if we came out, we'd be willing to, if it was, if it became such.
Okay. So the only one would change from what we've typed in there would be B, if we change that to 6.
Yeah,
We
I
got a
struck the
TA
word
holidays.
associated and a couple of grammar errors with the employee possibly, yes.
Take a break for a second.
Sure.
All right, we'll take a break for a second.